Hello everyone, and welcome to the third episode of DIY Room Decor. So far we've made a dream catcher and a floral initial, In this episode we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be making several garlands. We're going to be making a tissue paper flower garland, a pennant garland, a watercolor planet inspired garland, and then a really simple picture garland. So let's get started. First things, here is what you'll need for... So the first one we're going to make is the planet inspired garland. I say inspired because it's not all that... I say inspired because the planets aren't all that accurate in size or order, but I think they look really pretty. So let's get started. Let's get started. The first thing you'll need are some circle cutouts. I used some white cardstock paper. I found that worked best since you're going to be using watercolors on the paper, so you want something that's a little bit more sturdy. Than just regular printer paper. Next, you'll need some scissors, some tape. Whatever tape will work, I just use some clear Scotch tape. Some twine, whatever kind of twine you like. And finally, some watercolors. And along with the watercolors, you'll also need a paintbrush and a cup of water. So for the first planet that I'm going to make, which is Neptune, the first planet that we're going to make is Neptune. And for this I use the blue color. And for this I use the blue watercolor. Now the first thing you do is just take a little bit. Now the first thing you do is take some water, dip it in the blue color, and then create lines across the circle. After you do this, you can just wait for it to dry a little bit. This will make this first layer appear a little bit darker than the next layers that we put on, and it'll add some more dimension to the planet. Now just go ahead and take a little bit more water and dip it into the blue again, and just continue making lines across Neptune. So it should look something like this when you're finished. The next planet is Uranus. For this I just used blue again, and I just used the same blue, but I wanted to make this a slightly lighter blue, so I also went in with some white. And you can just mix these two on the clear plastic side of your watercolor tray. So again, you're going to be doing basically the same thing as Neptune, just creating lines across your circle and then waiting for it to dry and then going back over again with the same line, so it just adds some more dimension. And here's what it should look like when you're done. The next planet we're going to make is Earth, and I'm going to be using the colors blue and green. So the first thing that you want to do is paint on the green first. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is paint on the green first. So just making shapes around your planet. Again, this is planet inspired, so it doesn't have to be completely accurate. And then I'm just going to add some blue lines, like you can see here, and then let it dry, again, just to add dimension. That's something that you're going to be hearing me say a lot in this podcast. And then go back over it and paint in the rest of the blue with slightly more water, so it can create a lighter blue. Next, we're going to be doing Mercury. And for this, I used a tiny, tiny bit of black. And a lot of white. So I just mixed these two to create a really, really light gray. And I started off by painting the edge of my circle first, and then creating a spiral shape, or painting in a circular motion, painting the entire circle in a circular motion, if that makes sense. So just to create that sort of circular look, I guess. The next planet we're going to be doing is Venus. And for this I used yellow, a tiny bit of brown. And for this I used yellow and a tiny bit of brown. Now we're going to be doing basically the same thing that we've done. For all the other planets. Just painting on lines in the circle, and then letting those lines dry, and then going over and painting another layer. Now, just for dimension, again, I just added some lines of brown under. I just added a few lines of brown in the circle, and then painted a little bit of brown around the edges. Next is Saturn. For this planet, I used orange, yellow, and again a little bit of brown. So the first thing I'm going to do is paint the entire circle yellow. It doesn't really matter how you do this. Next, I'm going to add really, really light brown lines across the entire circle. And then just highlight those lines with orange. Next is Mars. For Mars, I used red and a tiny bit of purple. So I'm going to paint this pretty similarly like I painted Mercury, I believe it was. So I'm going to paint this pretty similarly to the way that I painted Mercury. I'm just going to start off by painting around the edge of my circle with red, a really light red, and then mixing the red and the orange and painting again in a circular motion. And then taking red and then painting again in a circular motion just to create that sort of spiral look. And then I'm just going to go back in with the color purple to deepen it up a little bit and to create some dimension. Next is Jupiter. For this I use red, orange, yellow. And yellow. Now I'm just going to start off by painting some orange lines. And then highlighting those orange lines with a darker orange. And then filling in the open spaces with yellow. And then highlighting those yellow lines with a darker yellow. And then highlighting basically everything else with red. I definitely think this was my favorite planet. And then finally, Pluto. So this one is pretty easy. I'm just going to use a tiny bit of black and mostly white. So I'm just going to start by painting the entire circle light gray. So just mixing a tiny bit of black with a bunch of white. And then I'm just going to add dimensions with a darker gray. And that's basically it. So here are the finished planets: Neptune, Uranus, Earth, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Mars, Jupiter, and Pluto. I'm pretty sure they made Pluto a planet again. I'm pretty sure they made Pluto a planet again. We're just going to go with it. So after you wait for all of your planets to dry, you're just going to start taping them to the twine. This is fairly self-explanatory. Just turn the planet around and then take a piece of tape and then take a piece of tape and then this is fairly explanatory. Just keep placing your planets onto the twine with as much or as little space in between as you'd like. And then once you're done, you can just cut the twine. And then once you're done taping your planets onto the twine, you can just cut it and hang it up wherever you'd like. And this is how mine looked like when I was all finished. The next garland that we're going to make is the tissue paper flower garland. So here's what you'll need: some twine, some tissue paper, some tape, markers, and some scissors. So the first thing that you're going to do is cut the tissue paper into sixths. And then cut those sixths into halves. Just so you get the perfect size tissue paper for the garland that you want to make. Next, you're going to fold the tissue paper accordion style and then tie it off in the middle. I just used a little piece of twine for this and it worked fine. Next, you're going to take your markers and color the edges of your tissue paper with the markers. I actually used scented markers, so now that my garland is all finished, I can now just start folding up each individual sheet of tissue paper towards the middle, but be careful and be gentle because this can rip really, really easily. And once you finish folding up all of the sheets of paper, this is what it should look like. Now just continue this with the rest of your flowers and the rest of your markers. And once you're finished, just go ahead and tape the flowers to the back of the twine. Just go ahead and tape the back of your flowers to the twine and then cut it off once you're finished taping them. And then you're all done. Here's what mine look like. Next we're going to make pennant. Next we're going to make the pennant banner. No. Next we're going to make the pennant garland. Next we're going to make the pennant garland. So the first thing you're going to need is pennant cutouts. I use black because I wanted to use a silver Sharpie, and I think it looks best. And I think it shows up best when it's on black paper. Next you'll need a pair of scissors, a silver Sharpie, some tape, and twine. So this one is pretty simple. Just write whatever you want on your pennants. I just went with hello. And now just go ahead and decorate the pennants. Here's what I did. And then just tape the pennants to the back of the pennants to the twine. And you're all done. And last but not least, the last garland that we're going to make is the picture garland. So for this you'll just need some clothespins, some pictures, any pictures of your choice, a pair of scissors, and some twine. Now I took this a step further and I decorated my clothespins, but this is completely optional. You don't have to if you don't want to. Here's what I did with mine. And once you're finished doing that, you can just hang up your twine on a wall and begin hanging up your pictures with the clothespins. And that's it. You're all done. Here's what all of my finished pennants look like. Thanks for listening, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this inspires you to find some time to be creative during your day.